guys, and welcome back to Simply Addicted. Today I'm going to dive right back into the medical side of my journey. After I was diagnosed with liver cirrhosis, I was in the hospital, and I remember the doctors wanted to keep me overnight, but after several hours, they came to an agreement and I could finally be released. Because all I wanted to do was go home, crawl in my bed, and literally disappear under the covers. The next few days were a blur. It was like I was trapped in this twilight zone. And then, of course, came my alcohol withdrawals. It went from dripping sweat 1 second to freezing cold the next, to uncontrollably shaking my whole body, to no appetite, and I could literally barely get out of bed. Thankfully though, my withdrawals weren't severe enough for me to be hospitalized, so I had to tough it out at home. But I had noticed things started getting worse with my body. And I quit drinking cold turkey, so I was very confused by this. My stomach was swelling and getting bigger and bigger. And I literally just had no idea what was going on. My body was all out of sync. This is when I was referred to a liver specialist at UCLA, who I still see to this day. I go to her every 4 months. In the beginning, it was like every 2 weeks, so that's progress. And she is amazing. She explained that I had developed ascites, which is a buildup of fluid in your abdomen due to liver failure. And this is what led me to have paracentesis procedures. First of all, I've never even heard that word before. It was like speaking a foreign language to me. Essentially what it is they insert a needle about that big into the side of your stomach, which is connected to a tube that drains the acidic fluid into these big glass bottles. But after this, basically during this, the relief is instant. It's like unbuttoning your jeans after eating a huge meal, or like a balloon deflated. But, and it was great. And I remember thinking, great, I'm okay now, good to go. Nope, the fluid kept coming back more and more and more. Before long, I was going twice a week to get drained. My entire schedule literally was revolved around these procedures. And if I had to drain 5 or more liters, I would have to be hooked up to an IV for albumin. And this is to prevent PICD, which is paracentesis-induced circulatory dysfunction. And these processes were anywhere from a half an hour to an hour, sometimes 2 hours. And more often than not, I was getting drained 5 or more liters, so I was getting albumin quite a bit. And I couldn't help but wonder, is this my life now? And then I was told that I need to go through a 6-month process of testing every organ, endless blood work, to even be considered to be placed on the transplant list. And the liver transplant list, of course. And it was the longest 6 months of my life. It was very difficult. And then in early July 2024, I had received the call that I had been waiting for a very long time. I was officially listed, and I just burst into tears. I couldn't believe it was happening.
I just got the call. I'm on the list. Oh, I'm so happy.
And then I quickly learned that I qualified for the TIPS procedure, which is a surgery that reroutes the blood flow, that reroutes the blood flow to bypass the liver and go straight to the heart, which means no more fluid buildup and no more paracentesis. I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. My prayers have been answered. Because after nearly a year of looking visibly pregnant, didn't matter how much I tried to cover it up, I would repeatedly get asked, when are you due? In fact, I remember I had this one lady come up to me in a random store, and perfect stranger, and says, oh my gosh, I bet you're ready. That's gonna be a big baby. Oh man, I was like, okay, there's two ways to go about this. Either I just start crying or I go along with it. So of course I went along with it and would say things like, yeah, due in a couple weeks, or whatever it was, whatever I was feeling that day, I guess. And then I remember another incident that happened. My husband and I were at the farmer's market, and I had gone up to this booth, and this lady had made delicious homemade cookies, but they were outrageously priced. So I tasted it. I was like, oh yeah, those are good, but I'm not gonna, I don't need them. And we were about to walk away, and the lady looks at my husband and says, oh, come on, for your pregnant wife? And I looked at her because something switched in me, and I just said, I'm not pregnant. And she was pretty embarrassed. It was written all over her face, and she apologized, and I said, no worries. She said, I feel so bad. I said again, no worries. And she ended up giving us a half a dozen free cookies. So I guess that was a little victory in my crazy journey. So you can imagine I was beyond ready to have this TIPS surgery. So I went in for my first procedure, my first TIPS procedure, at the end of July in 2024, and it didn't work. And it had nothing to do with the doctors. It was just a matter of finding that sweet spot. So a couple of weeks later, I went for my second time, and still no luck. Finally, on September 11th, 2024, I went in for my third TIPS procedure, and it was a success. Oh man, I'll never forget that day. It was a great success, and you know what they say, third time's a charm. And that literally was my turning point. It changed everything. And like I had mentioned in my first video, all this stems from my addiction to alcohol, the surgeries, the procedures, the pain and agony. It all is a result of this nasty disease. And I'm gonna leave it there for today because there's so much more to come on my journey. And I appreciate if you're listening, if you're still listening, and if you like any of these videos. Again, I'm very new at this. Please feel free to like and subscribe. and I'll be back soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.